blue shirt, light brown jacket, brown pants, and a red tie. The policy is non-refundable, the lady at the shop said. Give me a break, Adam said. Along with taking care of him, I size clothes for a living. Do you really think that I'm a fool? 8 p.m. Jim gets the driver to pull over the stress limo. JR, get in. Your mama's in the car with Christine. Let's go. I want something to drink, JR said. Your mama and I are drinking champagne. You had promised your mama you would quit. You can drink ginger ale. The driver turns on Little Richard's Tutti Frutti. Jim is bellowing in the limousine. After this, you'd better not be a motivational speaker, Jim said. Dad, please, Christine said. Because I want you to be our PR lobbyist for me, Jim said. Jim, stop, Betsy said. We may have a recession, but I'm going to be in the Clinton administration and tell entrepreneurs to hustle because they're no longer entitled, Jim said. Dad, please stop, JR cried. Forgive me, JR, I'm a little drunk. JR turns on his Walkman for the news. The news was overshadowed by some commentary at Alabama State by notorious oil baron heir J.R. Hendrick, alleging that the murder of Vince Foster Whitewater, cocaine, and other scandals cloud the president's character to pursue a second term beyond this woman. It's a blessed day, Gerald said happily. By 8:15 p.m., Gerald's limo stops at the College of Charleston School of Business. JR, David Morgenthau, a man said. I want you to have a photo op with Stephen Covey. Really? Thanks. Because Granddad exposed me to Dr. Covey back when I was in high school. After the photo op, Dr. Covey motioned in JR. Son, meet me backstage. Your father's capture box seating. By 8:30 p.m., the speech began in the auditorium. The speech began in the auditorium, and JR is taking notes. Meanwhile, Claude senses that Jim is very drunk and abusive. He calls the family private physician, Merle Bertrand, who orders him put on a stretcher and fly by private jet back to Midland. Christine agreed to accompany him even though she was sobbing. Meanwhile, inside, JR is having a very good time. The speech strikes a nerve for good. But by 9:30, Claude pulls up in his Cadillac. JR, it's time to get to go. I got to take you back to the mansion. What's going on? JR asked. Your talk radio interview in Montgomery has gotten a lot of press to it now. I'm sorry, JR, but your mama has come back to Virginia Beach, and your daddy and Christine are going back home. I have to drop you off at the mansion long enough to get back to the airport and take another charter back in time to be with your father. Help him sober up. He's very drunk. Claude drops off JR, who runs upstairs. He calls Karen Crowder and left her the directions to the mansion to take him to church tomorrow morning. Ken is asleep. Pretty anticlimactic, ain't it? Nothing's worse. Nothing's worse than having to deal with a daddy and lots of drink. So, we're going to see what we can do to try to brighten the mood. At 5:25 a.m. the next morning, JR is up reading the audiobook Martin gave him back in Tyler. He's crestfallen that his father got drunk last night. It's such a momentous time for him. By 7:50, JR gets a call on his cell phone. It's Royce, the conservative radio talk show host in New Orleans. Socialism has one thing to consider. There is a steady supply of idiots. JR, you didn't make it to the reception. People wanted to see you. Yeah, you must have heard. He must have heard my interview in Montgomery, Jared said. Yeah, Whitewater. JR, I saw you at the event here in Charleston. But you weren't at the reception afterwards. People were waiting to see you. Yeah, sir, sorry. My daddy got drunk. Things got personal. Let me guess. It's over Whitewater. I know. He's a Quentin appointee. Come see me when you get the chance. You gave me a lot of political insights. At 8 a.m., Karen pulls up in front of the mansion. Hello, honey, JR said. Hello, JR, Karen said happily. Look, I'm sorry about the other night. Mom drives me up a tree. Let's get to church, JR said. I'm so glad to hear you say that. By 8:15 a.m., the church service is in full swing. After the opening hymn, JR was surprised to hear them recite what is known as the Apostles' Creed. JR notices an insert of it in the bulletin and began to recite it. By 10:20 a.m., JR and Karen left the church, with JR having received a tape of Basic Methodist beliefs. "You seem distracted today, JR," Karen said with concern. "My dad took me to the College of Charleston by limo last night. Didn't even bother to go into the speech with me, even though he bought tickets," JR said. "I'll always be Jim Hendrix' son, no matter how much education. But Karen, darling, I swear I am not like him." "I never said you were." By 10:30 a.m., JR goes back into the mansion. "How'd it go?" Ken asked. "Fine and dandy. Listen, I need to go to the balcony. I make a phone call in private." He picks up the phone and calls Brad. "Tad got drunk last night, Brad. Big time," JR said. "What you and Ken don't get is that this is par for the course for your father," Brad said. "I need empathy, Brad, not a smart aleck attitude. Listen, I'm sorry, but maybe this will give you guys a good last hurrah with you and Ken without him. We get to Virginia next Monday. I'll call you when we get to Philadelphia." By 11:15 a.m., JR gets back on the phone at the balcony and called his father. "Why did you get real drunk last night?" JR demanded. "Hey, you had your show, Junior." "I had to drink," Jim said. "Besides, politics is a game, son, and all is fair in love and war. Whitewater is a hot topic, Dad, and you're not in a federal agency responsible for that." "Well, son, things that are good enough for the corona is good enough for the raver, aren't they?" Jim bellowed and screamed. "Something important as a day like yesterday? I better not see you drink like that again. I won't be around," JR exclaimed, slamming the brakes on the phone. 11:35 a.m., Karen picks up JR. They go out to the Gridiron, Charleston's famous variety restaurant with indoor and outdoor dining. By 12 p.m., JR and Karen are dining together. "Did you know that the columbine is one of the few flowers that represents life and freedom?" JR said. "Does your head hurt with all the information you cram into it?" Karen asked. "Girl, let's get real. I have a photographic memory." JR laughed. "That flower is a symbol of Christianity." Karen uses the menu as a fan. I hate this heat.